The import of dogs bred for fighting, such as the American Pit Bull Terriers and Japanese Tosers, will be banned.
I don't particularly think as a society we should go around judging on appearances to determine whether or not that dog is dangerous. And ultimately, it's down to me. My dog is my responsibility.
So this is Karma. She's an 8-year-old exempted pit bull type. The police found out about her about 5 years ago. There had been a complaint that we had a dangerous dog. And so the police come round, they did all the checks, did all the measurements and found that she was a pit bull type. And unfortunately, they took her away for a week. What happened in that week was she was examined, she had to do a lot of temperament tests, and we had to go to court. And so what happened was we had the chief of police representing us in court, saying that she was a well-behaved and not a dangerous dog. So what they did is they gave her back on exemption. And so what that meant was that she had to be spaded so she couldn't reproduce. She had to be chipped. She had to be tattooed, registered as a dangerous dog, and she has to wear a muzzle in public. Walkies. See, as you can tell, she doesn't really like the stop. She doesn't really like the muzzle. Karma, come on. It's always a hassle trying to get hold of her, son. But she's actually been not too bad. Come on, Karma. There we go, we've got it on. Good girl. People's reactions, they differ really. You get the odd person who is okay, they'd be like, oh, does she bite, is she alright? And they'll pet her and they'll realise that she's a lovely dog. But the majority of the people will just assume, they'll either say stuff like, keep that away from my dog, you shouldn't have that dog, or be careful because that dog might bite. And I mean, to be fair, in a way, it's kind of, I understand, because the Dangerous Dogs Act has created a monster. You put a muzzle on someone, you spade them, you restrict them to a lead, people are going to assume that this dog isn't fit for society, and it's just so wrong.
I decided to do a bit of background research on BSL to try and find out why this law was first introduced and to look into the effects it has had, not just on dog welfare, but also the owners. I also wanted to see why the public has demonised dog breeds like my own for so long, even though there is no scientific proof to show that these breeds are of an aggressive nature. When doing this research, I managed to find a lot of articles that I think may link to the stereotypes that go with these breeds. When I started to do some research on BSL, it wasn't hard to stumble across loads and loads of articles. I literally typed in pitbull and hundreds come up. One of them was The Sun explaining what a dangerous dog was, and pretty much it restricted the 4 breeds, saying that these dogs are dangerous, and it pretty much implied that it would be impossible for any other dog to be dangerous. The other thing that I noticed when I typed in is the articles that stick out for pit bull attacks. And so we had Irish postman mauled by pit bull. We had pit bull dog attacked in Wembley Park. And see, the one thing that the media doesn't seem to remember is that in the last decade, we've had 27 fatalities, and 19 of these have been dogs that aren't banned. And so that kind of does say something about the fact that these banned breeds are not aggressive. It will always go down to the owner, like everyone would always say. And lastly, what gets me is the pictures that these media platforms use to represent these dogs. You'll never see a lovely cuddly pit bull with a baby or playing in the field. You'll always see them standing up broad with their teeth out, looking aggressive and ready to attack. And it's just so not fair, because things like the media are what is painting the picture and is what is demonising these dogs, and what goes along with the stigma of having one of these dogs. To get more of an overview on BSL and the effects it has, I went to the RSPCA headquarters in Horsham to meet BSL expert Dr. Samantha Games, who has written a 30-page factual report on the topic.
Well, breed-specific legislation is a type of law that places restrictions on the ownership of different types of dog. In the UK, there are 4 different types of dog that are banned. So it is basically a criminal offence to own, keep, sell, breed or give away these types of dogs. And that's the Pit Bull Terrier type, the Dogo Argentino, the Filo Brasileiro and the Japanese Tosa. Certainly in this country, by far the most commonly found is the Pit Bull Terrier type. And this legislation was brought in 1991 following a number of high-profile dog attacks, and what it was aiming to do was better protect public safety by reducing dog bites and also eradicating certain types of dog.
How many banned breeds go through the RSPCA?
So in 2016, 91 banned dogs went through the RSPCA. The RSPCA is not allowed to rehome a dog once it's been identified as a prohibited type of dog, and unfortunately what this means is that we have to euthanise those dogs, and that comes at a huge cost to our staff. It's incredibly difficult for our staff that create very, very close bonds with these dogs, and for them then have to be in a situation where that dog that they've cared for a period of time has to be euthanised purely because of the way that that dog looks. What the RSPCA would like to see is BSL being fully repealed so that we're not targeting dogs by their type or by their breed, but instead tackling dangerous dogs on an individual basis. And we believe that there's a 3-pronged approach that is necessary. So we want to see better education of dog owners so that they understand how to care for their dogs and also how to be safe around dogs. And in particular, we want to see education targeted at children who we know are particularly vulnerable to dog bites. So we want them to understand how to be able to be safe with dogs. We also want to see really effective legislation that actually allows intervention at a very early point, so we can actually prevent incidents from happening rather than at the current point in time. And with our current legislation, we have to wait for an accident to happen before we can successfully intervene. And finally, what we would like to see is a much better understanding of why dogs bite as well. There's not a lot of research around this, and we don't fully understand it as a behaviour. And if we did have that understanding, we could feed that into policies and initiatives that would better protect public safety.
Due to BSL prohibiting the RSPCA from rehoming these banned breeds, sadly hundreds of innocent dogs are euthanized each year. Someone who is standing up to this, helping families and dogs across the country, is BSL Victim Support Group founder and dog owner, Jimmy.
Well, this is it. I mean, Buddy was taken from me in 2012 for 7 months. He was served, and I didn't sleep those 7 months. He was my support system. I'd lost him, and I can imagine what it's like for all the families that contact us. They're going through exactly what I went through. It's sheer panic and you don't get told what's happening. The police don't communicate with the families, and they're at a loss. And then they put an appeal out on Facebook or social media, and we pick it up and try and help them if we can. The police just seem to pick on family pets for no apparent reason. It's not like they're going around the States picking up chavs' dogs off the street. They're not doing that. And you know yourself, there's hundreds of pit bulls walked around drug areas and nobody bats an eyelid. Well, the police certainly don't. Yet the police are going to family houses all around the country and saying, that's a pit bull, we're taking it. It's so wrong. They're family pets. They've had them since they're 8 weeks old.
26 years down the line, do you see any progress in terms of the ban being lifted?
Well, we'd like to think so. Lots of organisations have got on board now and are supporting the abolition or the repeal of BSL, but it seems a slow process, and until politicians get on board, we got no chance. A case in question in Portsmouth, 11 pups were born. The mother was killed because of BSL. The pups were fostered out on the understanding they'd be assessed in 9 months. 11 went in for the assessment, 8 come back as not typed, 3 have come back as typed. They're exactly the same animals. They're of the same mother and father, and we've got 3 now having to wear muzzles. They're home on exemption, interim exemption scheme, which again the police don't use. They have the DEFRA brought in the interim exemption scheme so that pets weren't taken from the house. They could stay in the house until the court. But police forces won't use CIS, even for the most docile of dogs, because, well, they don't agree with it.
Since Jimmy started the victim support group in October of 2016, he has supported and saved over 30 dogs, bringing them back to their families. But some people aren't so lucky when it comes down to the law and can be fighting their case for a very, very long time. This is Kush, a 2-year-old suspected dangerous dog who has been seized by the police and has been put in isolation for over 3 months now. I went to Coventry to meet up with Kush's owner Aisha to get more of an understanding of the process she's been through and how it's affected her, as she believes the system that is in place now is neither fair or effective.
When he was taken, it was probably from the minute the police got there to when he was taken about 15-20 minutes at the most. He was very, very nervous. He was shaking, like there was no tomorrow. When he was taken, I called that night to see if he was all right. Didn't receive any correspondence back. It took about 2 weeks. Thinking back on it now, to hear something from them, to see how he was. He's behaving absolutely perfectly in kennels. He's very loyal. He interacts well with lots of people. We have lots of people coming in and out. Obviously my partner has his friends round.
So how has this affected your everyday life?
It's obviously, you see me now, the way I look and the way I'm talking now, but genuinely I don't sleep. I don't eat. I cry all the time, and I'm not really a crier. I cry all the time, and now it's affected me to the point now where I work either 6 or 7 days a week to ensure that the costs of what's to come are adhered to. Part of when the police seize the dog, if we didn't hand him over, we have been told that they will chase us for kennel costs. That's £35 to £50 a day. He's been seized for just over 3 months. Our solicitors are £215 an hour. Obviously that's not including petrol or anything like that, or waiting time for them.
Do you propose a solution?
I'm not stupid, I'm not silly. I've just finished a degree myself. I'm very educated, so I understand that police have to respond to concerns and whatnot. I understand that, but the fact that I'm only receiving correspondence on average twice in a month, and is appalling for one, because a mum and their human child would receive correspondence every day to let people know how that child is, and I expect the same, because this boy means everything to me. So luckily we've engaged in lots of support on social media and whatnot, so hopefully we'll get through it like that.
Aisha told me some very interesting stuff, but I couldn't imagine the suffering she has been through. For some people, dogs are more than family pets. They can be your best friend and your support system.
We say we're a nation of dog lovers, but it was actually the UK that first introduced this law, profiling dogs as opposed to targeting them individually and essentially blaming the owners. Since the law, it hasn't really helped, it hasn't really protected public safety at all, because dog tags are still a significant number, and essentially it has failed the public. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I have to be a bit impartial and say that if you are going to have a dog, such as a pit bull type, or any other type really, you need to be aware of its competence. But it will always go down to how you raise them and how you treat them. I think the best way we can try and get this ban lifted or repealed is educating people, really. Educating the public, not just adults. We need to be educating children as well. How to raise them, how to treat them. Topics such as bite prevention as well, just so we can prevent the cause from happening. So yeah, we just need to raise more awareness, because if we don't raise awareness, who else is going to stand up for these innocent animals?
Since 1991, thousands of dogs have been euthanized, and hundreds more each year will suffer unless something changes. I'm not expecting for this law to be repealed anytime soon, but the more we do today, the closer we can get to a different tomorrow.
so serious.